Good morning, Matt, and thank you for joining us. You're used to getting up early on a Saturday morning, aren't you? Especially back in the day.
Yeah, hello, Ian. Yes. Well, I used to be. We are going back a few years. You're referring to when I used to do swap shops and superstores and things, I assume.
So how you been keeping during this, what everybody's saying, bizarre times we're finding ourselves in? What have you been
I
up
believe
to?
the Chinese are saying for it, we live in interesting times.
Indeed we do.
It is a curse, that is. So it probably is relevant here. To be perfectly honest, working from home when you're not quite sure what the day of the week it is anyway, I don't really think it hasn't been a great deal of difference. It has been slightly odd. Oh, we're not going out as such, like we're not going down the pub or whatever. And I think since the lockdown, we've been to the shops outside the village once, the Costco Sainsbury's run, which was fun. But there's 3 shops in the village, and they're all after the panic buying. Why do they?
Yeah.
And are well stocked. So hey, I had my daily exercise. Oh, we're allowed 2 these days, aren't we?
Yeah.
Up to the paper shop, get my hard copy of the paper. I get it online, but hey, I like to read the paper as a paper.
There's something about a actual newspaper, isn't there?
Well, we're going to them with like books and digital books and things.
Yeah.
There is room for both. Which is why I have the paper running with BBC News, of course, all the time on the computer. But hey, when I sit down with my cup of coffee in the morning,
likewise. Cheers, Matt.
Yes.
I just want to point out what is actually on your mug. Do you want to say what is on your mug?
Well, as some may know, myself and my colleague Paul Fitzmaurice, we run some model shows in my village here, Hanslope, North Bucks, at our local village hall. I actually have 2 hats there. I know males are not supposed to be able to multi-skill, but I'm a trustee of the hall as well as being an organizer of the event. So, I've got balls in both courts. I can't remember what the phrase is now, whatever it is, or hands up both puppets and things in the sort of thing. And the big one, we run 4. The big one is Small Space, which is named after my own trade name, which gets confusing because there's 2 lots of small spaces. And that one's sort of grown exponentially. It's called Small Space because it is about models and miniatures within the filming industry, science fiction, the factual space as well. I mean, I am a fellow of the BIS, British Interplanetary Society, so we like to mix it all in there because time you chuck the fantasy in, possibly a bit of horror and whatever. Yeah. That's what it's been. And it's grown in that people come literally from all over the country. We've actually had somebody come in from America, I haven't hastened to add just for the show. We'd like to think that, but they arranged it around it so they could come along. So good for them. And it's been extremely popular, much to the surprise, frankly, of my fellow trustees of the hall. They've never had so many people in the hall at any one time. This year, of course, we don't quite know, because it would normally be in the beginning of July, and we're working on a month-to-month, actually, no, we're working on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So we've basically had to cancel it. We might try and run it later in the year. If we do, this is a preview, nobody knows this yet. If we do, it would be the 4th of October. And if you're wondering why the 4th of October, that's the beginning of Space Week. It was the launch of 57 of Sputnik 1. So the world celebrates Space Week that first week of October. And the 4th happens to be a Sunday. That's not definite. It really will depend on what the situation is in October.
It's definitely an event I can recommend. I've been the last couple of years.
You've been along, yes.
I really enjoyed your event. It's very funny to see you running around doing everything, as well as then signing autographs.
Basically, I came to the conclusion several small spaces ago, because people are used to seeing that Paul has his own stand selling modelling tools, and I have my stand with the kits and the books and things like that on it, and some displays. I realised I can't do it. I am in TV film parlance showrunner, location manager. I'm actually keeping the thing running to such an extent that last year I went out and bought some walkie-talkies. Cell phones, no, just the walkie-talkies, because we're only so many meters apart, whatever. These days it has to be at least 6 meters, 2 meters, 6 feet. But there, if I'm in one of the halls and I want to talk to Paul and he's in the main hall, I found it became very, very useful. But I realised I can't do anything else, so I'm show running it.
Yeah. One of the things, I think it was the first time I came to one of your shows there, you managed to have the Who-mobile from Doctor Who there.
We did, yes. Gentleman Paul Buckland owns the Who-mobile for many, many years. A lot of people thought it had gone. No, he's got it. The idea is that eventually it would get renovated and back on the road, because it's a road legal vehicle, strangely enough. It doesn't run, and the tyres are flat, and we couldn't get it off the trailer it was on, so we had the massive task, and it was of moving not only the Who-mobile, which is pretty wide, it's not very long, it's pretty wide, on its trailer. I found a local company who actually would do that, but that was getting up early in the morning, because we could only get it that day. I think that was a 4 o'clock start.
Oh gosh!
Admittedly, it's not that far away, and then get the trailer with the Who-mobile on it onto the back of the transporter, securely held down and thing, moving it for so many miles. It wasn't that far. And then getting it off this end, and then of course repeating it all the following time. But that was quite an interesting event. Yes.
Well, hopefully your event will happen later this year, and I hope many people who are watching this video will come to your event. So thank you.
Well, it'll be there. I will give the website, which is www.hamex.co.uk, and your Hamex is Hounslow Modelling Expo. That's what it stands for, but it's shortened to Hamex. And Small Space, you'll find that with the other 3 shows we do on the front page. And yes, any future information will be there.
Yeah, we'll put some links up on this video when it goes out. So
Great.
There we go. So the reason why we're talking today is about Blake 7, that other great show that you worked on for quite a while.
Yes, it's Cotton Socks.
Oh, there you go. Are you about to do your hair now, Matt? Is that what it is? Because I know
this is the curling tongs.
Indeed, because we can't get haircuts at the moment.
I think when I was very, very young, I had very, very straight. In fact, you can see it. Well, I was very young when I was doing swap shop. You'll see it was a classic Beatles cut.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, without it being cut these days, and I've still got my hair, it's actually turning, but it's got all curly now, so I need the liberator to come through the curls.
I want to take you back to the sort of start of your career. How did you get involved with the BBC visual effects?
It's one of those serendipitous happenings. I already worked for the BBC in news, actually, and I did that for a couple of years or so as a researcher in the what they call the stills library, photograph library. Must have all gone now, because frankly, A, it's all digital, and B, you just do a frame grab if you want to still a picture. But that's where I started. First at Alexandra Palace, where I lived relatively near when I lived in North London, and then at Television Centre in what was then Stage 6, and of course now is gone, I believe, in all this redevelopment of Television Centre. Thank heavens we still got 3 studios left, but I'm frankly one of those who said we should never have sold Television Centre. It wasn't the ideal place to do particularly dramas. Doctor Who's, Blake's and things were difficult to do. Were not easy to do. It's a lot easier in a big square studio like you've got at Pinewood or Elstree or whatever. But for light entertainment, for chat shows, Jules Holland's later, whatever, I think that's gone back when you can do it, back to TC1. There are 3 studios back working at Television Centre. TC1, which is the largest in the London area. TC2, which when I was there was actually a drape store, but it's now a small studio. And TC3, where a lot of Blake and Who were actually made. And that's a middle-sized studio. So they got 1 of each size. But you've got to remember, originally there were 8 studios, or 9, because there was a small one as well. And there was presentation, Pres A, Pres B. Pres A was weather, Pres B is where we did Sky Night in Presby's because it was a little studio. Hey, it's all gone, but things move on.
They do indeed, sadly. So when you came into visual effects, what was the first show that you were the visual effects designer for? Was it Blake Seven or was it Doctor Who?
Well, there was a slight hiatus when I first went to effects. I saw Jack Kine, of course, he was still head of the department then and still alive. He said that they were starting up a new division, which was the only spin-off that's ever happened from effects for the Open University. And ironically, the OU was back at Alexandra Palace, which is because I just come from and I still live near. So I went there to help Jerry Aberwath. I'm afraid he's one of those, my colleagues sadly died a few years ago, to help set that up. Now we were doing, arguably, were they effects? Well, they were effects, and yes, they were effects in the sense of we were building demonstration models. We did a few proper things. They had the odd drama there, where we could do flames and fires and a few bangs and things like that. But most of the time, we were building models, demonstration models. What it did teach me was to work accurately and fast. Because when I eventually got called back to Television Centre to the main department by Jack, I already, obviously I had to learn a heck of a lot more, but I already knew how to work fast and accurately. And in some ways, I had to lessen the accuracy, because in the OU models, they weren't being built to the nearest thou, but they were probably built to the nearest 16th of an inch, or a mil or two. With the Doctor Who or Blake Seven or anything else, frankly, no, there's no way you needed to build stuff to that accuracy. But because I could, it helped. And you say, the first thing I do remember, actually, the first thing I came down, I helped Ian Kubiak, my great colleague, unfortunately, another one who's died, 2012, I think it was. Great, I learned one heck of a lot from him. And he was working on, would you believe, he was working on Doctor Who by himself. The one person just doing, unprecedented, even when I started designing on it. And he was doing, it would have been in Troughton era, because it was the Curse of Peladon.
Curse of Peladon was Pertwee.
Was that Pertwee? Was it? Well, yeah. I thought it was. Well, anyway, it was early on. Shows you how much I know. I was an only assistant, and I went in. As I said, I actually didn't know which episode it was until probably years afterwards. But it was where the TARDIS falls off the cliff.
Oh yeah. Now,
Ian was a brilliant designer in the sense. He did proper storyboards in the film set, colour ones. We've still got copies of those. Not the little pen and ink, pencil sketches the rest of us did. But he will be the first to admit he was no engineer or electrician.
Right.
And he wanted the TARDIS light to flash fast because he was filming high speed, 3 times speed, that's still high speed, 75 frames a second. And of course, when you slow it down to 25 frames a second for television, so the TARDIS falling slows down. It's a classic thing still done with all miniature filming. You film it fast. These days you digitally video it fast, slow it down. But of course the light had to flash fast because it was going to be slowed down.
Yeah.
So whatever speed the TARDIS lights flashes at, and to be perfectly honest, that's never been set. Oh, it's flashing. But you can tell if it's flashing once again.
Yeah.
And of course I had to make the device that would actually make it go boom, 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 boom. So when it slowed to 25 frames, it was going boom, boom, as normally the light would flash.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And that was my first job for, should we say, the main effects department, and certainly the first for Doctor
Who. So I think most people will be watching this for Blake Seven, so we must talk about Blake Seven. So
they all meld into one after a while.
They do. But on Blake Seven, what would you say was one of your most challenging things that you had to come up with?
Turning it around slightly, is sort of, what was your best one on Blake Seven? The last one that worked correctly, I think, is always the way it goes. The interesting thing about Blake was, and I was going to say it was the first time two designers had actually worked on a program. It wasn't quite true, because if you go back, I'm sorry, I'm going to mention who again.
Right.
If you go back to 77, we are into 78 now, and the classic, which is very appropriate for these days, the classic story, The Invisible Enemy.
Indeed.
I believe some president somewhere has been quoting that or something.
I believe
we had two effects designers on it. It wasn't me. I was a designer by then, because it was Ian. And it was Tony Harding, and of course Tony died in K9.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything at that particular time, but basically it was such a big show. Everybody helped on it, designer, assistant, whatever, people at the stores, we all helped on it. Everybody helped on it. But so the two designers per show had actually been slightly amended by then, but that was only for that story. For Blake, Ian started it, then realised it was very, very heavy, because unlike a Who story, whereas, one story, maybe 4 episodes, there's one designer, and the next one's with Who. No, it's like it is done now, like Star Trek's done, whatever. It is, you're on it for that length of time. So you do episode 1, you do episode 13 in the BBC sense. Americans tend to do 26 episodes at a time. It may be a different second time around, but for that first batch, you're on it. And he realised, I think he got into the very beginning of it, and I came in about episode 4. So I think that was the worst bit, was actually, frankly, picking up the bits. Ian had already started design and basically said, "Here, you deal with it." So I'm going into studios with stuff that I hadn't designed, hadn't commissioned, hadn't had made, and frankly had to land on my feet with it. Well, that's the whole thing about effects, is basically, you can keep your head when all about you're losing theirs. Yes. You obviously appreciated the situation, and basically you just fight to keep the thing on the road, and hopefully don't let anybody know, particularly the director, that you've actually got no idea what you're doing because you've never seen these things before. Yes, of course we will do this. We will do so and so. Oh, but we got through it. And of course, by season 2, Ian moved on to other things. Peter Pegram and Dozell were three designers on it. But I said to Peter and Annie, look, you probably don't want to do the miniature filming. I don't mind. Let's split. This was the first time it was really split. Arguably, Invisible Enemy was, because Ian did the miniature filming there. But I did all the miniature filming. I think I did a couple of studios. Don't ask me which ones I've forgotten. It's probably
I'm sure people watching this will know and be shouting at the screen.
They'll be screaming at the screen, yes. You've got to remember, I work on it. I don't necessarily know all about it. I think one was Horizon. I do vaguely recall one was Horizon. I think the other one was also one word. But so anybody's going to correct me, then send your cards. And we've had a postcard from a Mrs. Trellis from North Wales. That will sort out, people will know where that comes from. But no, let me know. But I've got it somewhere probably. But I think, was Shadow an episode?
Shadow was an episode, that's right.
Could have been those two. I don't know, but don't absolutely quote me on it.
Earlier on, when we started this conversation, we mentioned the Liberator gun, which you've got there, which is a bit like a curling tong. But you famously created a spaceship with 2 hairdryers together as well.
Yes, I did. You can drop the picture in if you like, because they're not actually here. Everything's packed away at the moment. But yeah, that was one of those silly things. The way I tell the story on this, and some people may have heard this before, but anyway, we wanted a spaceship that was going to be on a scout ship, I think it was going to be on the screen for 1.5 seconds, and it wasn't even on full screen, it was on Zen's screen.
Yep.
It was a screen within a screen. Now, if you're Industrial Light and Magic, Lucas's lot out in California, you'd probably say, we got 6 weeks to design this, and 6 weeks to build it, and 6 weeks to film it. We will do so and so, all for 1.5 seconds on screen time, which is because it's what they would do for Star Wars. Nope, the BBC didn't have that luxury. So it's a case of. Now, what we had in the department was tea chests full of bits, literal proper tea chests full of bits. And I rummaged down them, and I came up, with what was half of Morphy Richards' classic hairdryer thing. Not one of these modern Dyson things, but this is that classic shape. Oh, there's another one. Stick them together, pump like that. few. In fact, I did have a slight homage to Star Wars. A couple of R2D2 model kit tops on them, and shot it from the rear, going away. A few lights for whatever. That was it. Or flashing lights in the R2s, I think, as well. Now, that was a time when I was doing Swap Shop and Supersong, and they used to get me on and to talk about not only space stuff, but what I was doing regarding science fiction, whether it was Doctor Who or Blake 7, because Blake was relatively new at that time. And I went on and I showed the ship, and I showed it from the view, of course, that the film camera would have seen it, which was the rear. You can't really tell what it is. But then I, stupidly, turned it 90 degrees so you could see the shape of the hairdryers. And of course, everybody now remembers it. Well, in some ways, it's quite, any publicity is good publicity. But
Yes.
I've never been able to be let forget that particular bit. So, hey, that's the fly. And of course, got known. It's not the alien scout ship. It's the flying hairdryers. and what amazes me, people have actually gone out and got Morphy Richards' hair and made their own version of it.
They have. I've seen various homages to your work online. Yeah.
Yes, building the Liberator or pursuit ships or Aurak or what you thought. No, the flying hairdryers. Hey, go with the flow.
You just mentioned Aurak there, which I believe you have somewhere. Not, I don't know if it's with. Oh. Wow, there he is. There he is.
At this point, we would cut to a wide shot or zoom the camera out. But hey, we have to go with the flow.
Limited technology. And there. You in previous events which you've done for me for Cygnus Alpha, you've said that one day I'm gonna get him working. Do you think that day will ever come? That he will work again?
Well, I've started. There is literally the cable at the power. I've got the central light, the glow working. I've yet to get the two. There are 3 electrical systems in it. There's the central glow. There's the lights around it, and there's a ring of the trace lights that go around. Now the slight problem is, A, it's a long time ago since it was done.
Yeah.
B, when we built it, it was a mix of the real stuff and fake stuff. And over the years, I've forgotten what's real and what's fake. So I have to literally trace every wire. And I traced it. Oh, that's dummy. That's just there for dressing. Oh, I've got to start again. So I'm getting that elusive around to it at some point, and I can get it working. Maybe when after this lot is over and we can take him to one of the small space shows, yes, he'll be there in all his glory.
Well, if we use this as a time frame, December 2021 will be the 40th anniversary of the show finishing.
Yes, we've had the 40th anniversary of the show starting, so yes, why not do the ending? Yes. I've got a year and a half.
Yes, so I think you should get it ready. You've got a year and a half. That is your project to get it ready for December.
Yes, sir, right, okay. I like a deadline to work with, but normally not that far ahead. If you said tomorrow, I probably could have, day after I could probably do it, but hey, no, right. I will put it in the diary at some point.
All right, there we are. We have it online that by December 2021, Aurak will be working.
If I haven't got run over by the bus at that point, yes, right.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
I was going to say, I could get run over by a bus, but there's no buses going through the village at the moment, so hey.
No, well, you're lucky that your village has a bus. Many villages, even if we weren't on lockdown,
we do, but I've got no. All I know is when I do the if you go on the Amex website on the travel thing, you'll say all our shows are on a Sunday. The buses don't run on Sunday.
Yeah. So. But there is lots of parking near your show, so that's fine.
Well, that's the good thing about it. We could park. We've got 2 car parks at the hall. Plus, basically, you can park down the road. I mean, when we've had small spaces. We've had them. I won't say they're walking half a mile. They're probably walking quarter of a mile. It's all very pretty. You've got the fields. You're walking.
Your village is a very, very nice village. It really is. Yeah.
And I live the nice end of it.
Yeah.
Church End. We never use that, but it's actually technically on Church End. But
Yeah.
and that's where the hall is as well. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I really only chose the hall because I can see it from my window here, from my office window, and I can walk there in 30. I mean, people have asked me, "Have you got so-and-so kit for sale?" I said, "No, give me 30 seconds. I'll just go and get it from the house." Well, a minute, 30 seconds there, 30 seconds back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. As well as the Liberator gun and Aurak there, you actually you still have what's left of the Liberator prop.
I have. It's in a heck of a state because it literally was left at the end of it was at season 3 when the I shouldn't say this word, the space virus it fell apart. It didn't it blew up. No, it didn't. That was the series 2, and that was the sister ship because I blew that up. They have been blown up. They were not the Liberator. But I've got the bits.
Yeah.
And I've just put it back together just enough so it can be displayed.
Yeah.
Because, see, the weapon pods were off of it. The front bits of each of 2 weapon pods were missing. Whereabouts probably known, but they're only very, very small bits.
Yeah.
And I've remade them just to make it look. I left them in grey so that to be shown that. But the thing is in a mess, and it has been said to me, "Oh, it's a great pity it can't be renovated." Well, the trouble is, if you renovate it, you won't have the Liberator again.
No.
You must have put a new one because
Absolutely.
it is what it is. Putting slightly likening it to that, yes, I have had the London rebuilt.
Yeah.
And that was rebuilt by Simon Atkinson, who I didn't know him at the time, but worked for Space Models in Feltham, and was a very junior, extremely clever model maker. But he was one who built it in the first place, and he worked on the Liberator as well, because that was also the bare bones. The shell of it was built by Space Models.
Mm-hmm.
I also have to point out, Space Models don't build space models; they build airliner models when they're around. But they were located in a place called Spaceway. So consequently, they became Space Models, and they did this. And they did stuff for. They built the Eagles for Space 1999, the big ones for Space 1999 for Brian Johnson. So they did do quite a bit of effects model making as well. Mm-hmm. But no, Simon said, do you want me to rebuild? And I'm thinking, well, the London was never destroyed.
That's right. Yeah.
It became other craft. I used it doing space effects because they wanted a prison ship. In the script, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, the London's a prison ship.
Yep.
So we just basically did an homage and we put it next door to the dispensable for Space Effect. So if you don't know, Space Effect was like a kid's version of Red Dwarf. It was just as anarchic, and stupid, and silly, and things like. It was great.
I vaguely remember it from being a kid. Yeah.
There's the DVDs out there. It's probably on YouTube. It may even be on iPlayer. It probably isn't, but it may be. But it was great fun to do. But because we had no money, so we built the dispensable, which Mike Tucker was my assistant at the time. Mm-hmm. He's now gone to much greater things, and he actually did the design and built the dispensable. But we wanted all these guest ships to go with it, so we just borrowed them. We borrowed a Doctor Who ship. In fact, I did use the flying hairdryers. They're only in the background of one shot, but they are there. Yeah. And we want the London. We wanted a prison ship. I'll use the London. But the London was never destroyed. So when Simon, and because Simon built it in the first place, he did it himself. And he was back in the country. He was in Australia for many years. Lecturing at Glasgow University, and he said, well, I can use a project for my students. Fine, okay. I'm thinking, this is legit. Simon built it in the first place. The model is only being restored to what it was. I mean, it was in a bit of a state, frankly, because I dropped it at one point and the back end fell off. So there was a logic about him rebuilding it. And so now we have a pristine London looking like it did in, I think it was episode 2, it first, maybe in episode 1. It first appeared in. Whereas the Liberator didn't survive in the story. So, hey, why have we got a pristine version of it? I'd rather have it rebuilt, have a new one built to put alongside it to say, no, this is how it was left. So anyway, that's the saga of the Liberator. It does come out sort of for various things, for various shows. Yeah. It's a good half an hour putting the thing together again, to be perfectly honest.
Oh gosh. And I believe also you have some of the Liberator bracelets, original Liberator bracelets.
Yes, we have. Ba-bum. Here we are. I've got this is a working one. By working, it doesn't make you disappear, in which case it'll go. It works by the fact it opens.
Yeah.
So it will go onto the wrist easier.
Yeah.
And I've got. Oh, we did have. If you got, I mean, my hands are not that big. I mean, most of the time, particularly the ladies as well.
Yeah.
Kelly and Jenna, they could actually just slip them on. So we had another 24 built that didn't actually open.
Oh, right, okay.
And they would just slip over. But they were the genuine screen-used originals. Now, people have made copies of these, probably far better than these, and occasionally, heaven forbid, try to pass them off as originals. No, they're not. It's screen-used, it's screen-used. Yes. Ironically, Blue Peter did show you how to make out of a cardboard tube. Now, they're screen-used as far as Blue Peter goes, I suppose. Yes. But there did come a point in Blake, if you remember, the Liberator bracelet case was a 9x4. Mm-hmm. So consequently, that's why originally we had 36. We had 12 working ones and 24 didn't. Yeah. Do the math. 12, 24, 36. Problem. The trouble is that the actors, I'm not talking about anybody, but Paul possibly. Sorry, Paul. Bless your cotton socks. Would go to their dressing rooms at lunchtime. Oh, I've got put it on the shelf and then forget it. Yeah. So they come in and say, "Oh, have you got another one?" Okay, fine. And of course, I went into the studio once, and we had the bracelets, and props had the display case, the case of them, and I realised going through our box, because the case still held 36, we only had about 4 of these left. So basically, you have to pan over. I was only 4 there, boom. So I said to the sisters, one of my sisters, go up to the workshop and cut them, and they cut them out of cardboard tube, just like the Blue Peter one. Now, if anybody's got any, I mean, I can't remember. I mean, they would have probably fallen apart. Yeah. But they are genuinely screen-used Blake 7 ones. So how I tell them from a Blue Peter or somebody just cut them out of cardboard tube, I've got no idea. I have had people come up to me at shows, and not my own shows, but actually have it there as well, with one of these bracelets and say, "Oh, is this a genuine original?" I've looked at it and said, "No, it's a copy. I know who's made it. It's a copy. It's not screen used. It's very good. It's not screen used." And that's the trouble we always have with the props and things. In the old days, stuff was given away. Yeah. Or thrown away, heaven forbid. I know. Reused. The Blake 7. I think it was in series 1. I didn't do the filming. Ian did the filming of that. It was a mining ship. Had tanks on it. I think 8 tanks around the side. Had a nose, a bit like the Eagle or something. Yeah. That ended its life vertically painted yellow and blown up in Hitchhikers. Wow. We know that one went. Yes. You try and salvage what you can, just for historical purposes, to be perfectly honest. Otherwise, we've got nothing left. And of course, there came a point when all of a sudden people started realizing, hey, people will pay money for these props that are appeared on television and the movies, of course. Yeah. I think the first Bond Dunhill lighter, when Bond was allowed to smoke, was given to somebody. The prop guy gave it to. Nowadays, it's worth, I won't say hundreds of thousands, but it's worth thousands. But only if you can prove the provenance. Is this the one that Sean Connery actually used? That would be difficult. But that's where it sort of came about. And the stupid people said to me, "Oh, are you selling these?" I said, "They're not mine to sell. I'm caretaker of them. They're here so you can enjoy them." When I go to shows, go to my shows, go to your shows. They're there to be seen. And if we get rid of them, we just don't know where they've gone. Yeah, is that what you see yourself as a caretaker of all these iconic? I'm afraid it sounds a bit pious and grandiose, but no, I only see myself as same as K9. Yeah, I'm a caretaker of him. It's just the caretaker of these things, because otherwise there's so much stuff has gone out and got lost. At least us who have hung on to these bits and pieces, with permission, I hasten to add, they are there to be enjoyed by all.
Yeah. You just obviously mentioned K9. So have you been taking him for a daily walk?
Well, could do, I suppose. Yes, I could go walk the dog, I suppose. He's a bit slow. He's getting old, you know. For a dog, he's a good number of dog years these days.
Mm.
But no, he comes out for sort of various things. Funny enough, I did an event out in Chelmsford in March, so just before the lockdown, and it was being talked about. But we had an audience there, and in fact, I did a radio broadcast for the local BBC station, and the following day, because I did two talks, and we got more people in than we were planning because they'd heard it and came in, and more seats were sold. And of course, they're all sitting in the audience, all next door to one another. It was only after, I think the following week, it all got locked down. So I just got in time on that. But the dog came along to that, say hello.
Lovely. So obviously you're now retired.
I'm not retired. I mean, I work for the media. You never retire. You slow down a bit. You never retire.
Do you
like actors and things? Actors don't retire. So Patrick Stewart is still going. He's older than me. You know, extras who do the background scenes in the cafes and EastEnders. When you can do them, of course. Yeah. Hey, they can be in their 90s. People still, people don't stop getting old being actors.
No, that's true.
You've got to be like Tommy Cooper. Literally, you die on stage. People think it's part of the act. I mean, as any actor would say, or any person performing would say, that's the way to go.
Absolutely. But do you miss that sort of that buzz and the camaraderie of the workshop of the 70s and 80s when you were really, churning things out?
There is an element of it in that which has gone now completely because everybody works for themselves.
Yeah.
That in the BBC in general as a whole, and particularly the BBC, because I didn't work for ITV or anything because they were smaller companies, but BBC particularly, is what you lose. And at the time, we didn't call it because we didn't know didn't have a name at the time. It was networking.
Yeah.
People always, particularly Americans, Bernard Wilkie, of course, was the other co-creator of the effects department with Jack, and who was my designer, like Ian. I learned a heck of a lot from Bernard. Bernard had some American friends and who used to come over every now and again, and they were not only amazed that the BBC allowed you to drink during working hours, but it gave you somewhere to do it in the form of a club.
Yeah.
And the point about it wasn't a case of, oh, this is just buckshy. I remember the club, we had to pay for it. Well, it didn't come out of your television license. But you could go in there, you could have a drink or just an orange juice or whatever, but you saw other people there.
Yeah.
You'd see a producer, you'd see a director say, oh, hey, Matt, I need to talk to you about so-and-so. You got, I'll buy you a drink, come, get 5 minutes. Now, of course, if you've got no longer got the club, you no longer got Television Centre working as a whole, you've lost that.
Absolutely.
We lost it to a certain extent when we moved effects. I think it was 77. We moved effects from Television Centre to Western Avenue.
Right.
We were where it was for the greatest length of time. Mm-hmm. Because we were away. You could only then do it when you were at the centre.
Yeah.
During a programme. But you missed it. Even just going round the circular corridors, of course, famous Television Centre in the circular corridors. Yeah. And you see somebody there, and you say, oh, can I have a word with you about so-and-so? Now, of course, if you're not in that building, going down that corridor, that's never going to occur.
No, absolutely.
And that's the main thing I think that's been lost. And we can never recover it.
No.
A, Television Centre is no longer Television Centre in the old sense. And B, we're all self-employed.
Yeah.
We all work for themselves.
So, are you working on anything at the moment? Or...
most of the time these days, I do these talks like I did for Chelmsford on effects, and one on the effects book that.
Yep.
It's here somewhere or other, which you said you now can't see it. Where's it gone? Look, my viewing copy there, so it's got a bit tacky.
Do you know, Matt, that is a fantastic book. I absolutely enjoy all the pictures and the explanations of things. For me, when I read it, I didn't go to Blake 7, I didn't go to Doctor Who. I went straight to the page about the Samyad from 5 Children and It.
Yep. Well, for those who haven't seen the book, and he says holds it up again, that's what it looks like. Now, it's out of print. Mike and me would love to get it reprinted, but there's lots of things, particularly all regarding the pictures and copyrights, things like that. The publisher didn't print that many of them.
No.
So you can grab a copy. I've got 2 copies. I've got that copy, and I've got pristine, my file copy. That's it. Not anymore. Mike and me, particularly, we're both there. We could sell as many at full price as we could get. We have done small space shows, because we're both there signing the thing.
Yeah.
And it's a cross section. All right, there's a lot of SF in it. The department did. People say, oh, what did you do most of? Well, actually, technically, we probably did most light entertainment shows, comedy shows, and children's programs. It wasn't Doctor Who or Blake 7.
No.
But obviously, they're the big part. I will let you a little secret, which I have said a few times, is originally we weren't going to put Doctor Who in it at all. Because there's so much else out there on Who.
Yeah.
Not Blake in, yes, but not. But then we thought, we're going to get lynched if we don't put it in. And of course, Mike had just gone into New Who.
Yes.
So legitimately, so we could include New Who as well as Classic Who.
Yeah. But
what they did say was, oh, can you not put it on the cover? Well, we did. We put there's your Samyad, and there's the Liberator. That's the classic scene from the Dad's Army titles. That's the shuttle. I ironically didn't do, Mike did. And the bang behind is actually EastEnders. That's the EastEnders. That's the Queen Vic going up, I think, for the first time.
Right. Okay.
Up about 3 times, if I remember correctly. So we didn't put Doctor Who on the front. We put it on the back instead. The classic picture of it, which I took of Ian and the TARDIS, and it was in black and white, so we left it in black and white.
Yeah.
So that was the saga of that. So yes, you have got Who in there. You've got Blake. You've got Hitchhikers. You've got Red Dwarf. You've got Space Vets in there. It ended up actually with what have we got pictures of? Got Triffids in there.
Yeah.
And we found a lot of our colleagues have got pictures. Some we never got hold of. I mean, there's no Monty Python in there. I never worked on it. And we just couldn't find enough pictures of the effects side of things.
Yeah.
Got the goodies in there. We had permission from Graham, Bill, and Tim. Tim, R.I.P., lovely guy.
Lovely guy, yeah, absolutely.
On Comment Is Coming, actually. We did his acting role on that. So we've got goodies in there. We found one of our colleagues who got loads of pictures of the goodies. Great. That's all we've been in. Dad's Army's in there. We nearly didn't get Dad's Army, but then we found a stash of pictures of Dad's Army. So we, by no means could we include everything in there. And to be perfectly honest, at one point we got asked, oh, how many programs did the effects department work on? We have no idea.
No.
Mike found when he was clearing out the office when it started, because Mike was the last person, with the last person lead the effects department, please turn the light off and close the door. That was Mike. He found a book which literally had written in every job.
Wow.
But it only went up to 1970 something like that.
Oh.
So, you can only, and of course things got heavier after that, more and more stuff. And also, how do you qualify? Here's Blake's 7 whole series against going to the top of the pops with the smoke gun. Yeah, they're both effects jobs. They're both individual programs. So in that way, it's very difficult to try and balance it. I mean, we came up with the number of 20,000. It was really guesstimates. Yeah, and I think that was an underestimate. It's going to be 30 or 40,000 overall. But so many of them were just literally pulling something on a piece of string, smoke gun here, dry ice effect there, fire. I mean, I spent weeks on one of the Shakespeare plays, the lesser known ones, which was Henry VIII at Leeds Castle, which of course, as everybody knows, Leeds Castle is not in Leeds, it's in Kent. Yes. What I was doing was fires in grates and the odd flambeau. Still effects. Someone's got to do it. But it wasn't in the traditional sense of effects. It was still floor effects, but they were not perhaps the most exciting to do.
Okay. I want to just move away from your sort of special effects career, and I want to talk about your passion for real space, for space. And I'm just wondering, have you been looking up at the night sky, looking at the satellites going over recently?
Well, you look up at any night sky, and of course we have the slight advantage that it is clearer at the moment because it's got less planes flying. It
Yep.
doesn't help with street lighting.
No.
Apparently, this village didn't have street lighting originally, and in fact, a colleague who moved away now, a next door neighbour, was also interested in astronomy. And he said, when I first came here, you could see the night sky because Milton Keynes hadn't been really built.
Yeah.
At the moment, I've got Milton Keynes to the south, I've got the M1 to the east, I've got Northampton to the north. West is slightly clear, but you get this glow from the sky, and there's nothing you can do about it really. But the brighter stuff, the satellites that they're called the Starlink.
That's it. Yeah.
Musk is launching. And not just, people think of satellites as being one-off things, one at a time being launched. No, he's launching like up to 60 at a time. They're small satellites. They're lower than what we call the geostationary orbit, or the Clark orbit. My old friend Arthur C. Clarke, late patron of my astronomical society, and who did the foreword to my, where is it? My Creating Space book, forward of Arthur C. Clarke. He wasn't Sir at that moment. Actually, there's Arthur never did forwards except for those he wanted to do forwards. And there's a little clique of us who've got books which have got a forward, but we say Arthur C. Clarke forward on it. I mean, we basically wrote it and Arthur signed it. But, we want to say, that's all right. No, it's great, lovely, put that in. So we've actually got that there. But here's what is called the Clark orbit, the geostationary orbit, where all the big satellites, the communication satellites are. They're stationary because they obviously not stationary, they're moving one heck of a speed.
Yeah.
Stationary as far as the Earth's rotation goes. I did a swap shop on this, by the way, yes. I even got Noel laughing at one point. We had Cheggers in Jersey, and we were having the signal coming via satellite. It was also new at that particular point.
Yeah.
So Cheggers in Jersey, and I was in the studio with Noel explaining how it all works.
And nowadays we can just do like what we're doing, a Zoom chat.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't know really now whether it's going via high-speed cable, satellite, whatever. This is just going by your phone lead. It's being transmitted. It's not actually going down. You think of it, there's this little bit of copper wire. No, it's an aerial. The signal's being transmitted. It's just that instead of having an aerial there, an aerial transmitted, it's the wire is the aerial. That's the way why you can get all the signal down it, and you can get full broadband movies downloaded in 3 seconds and things like that. You've got that sort of speed. But nowadays we take the communications for granted. Rather ironically, going back to the current situation, of course, people say, "What's it like?" I said, "It's a bit like, apparently it's like the Blitz, but with internet." The wartime spread. Not that I was there. I hasten to add, my parents were. But we have got the advantage. I mean, what do they have? They had the Home Service. I think they had the right program as well. That's all they had. It didn't have Radio 3 at the time, or the third program as it was, and it certainly didn't have everything else. But nowadays we've got this. We can Zoom, we can Skype, we can Teams, whatever. But frankly, sometimes we can't even make a phone call. If anybody ever does it anymore these days. But how we would have been without this, I'm not really quite sure. We couldn't have virtual schools. We're setting up, besides doing this, I'm setting up a Zoom meeting for my Astronomical Society. It'll be the first time for that. We're going to see how that's going to work. And I mean, I have Skypes. My other half, she has Skypes with her sister in Texas. In fact, it'll be later today. My immediate family, my daughter, my ex-wife, and her other daughter, half daughter. We all have a group meeting. My nephew Evan, who's 8, going on 28, he's extremely bright. So the latest thing he's built from Lego, and this is my guinea pig. But great, we can do that because
do you give him any tips about building things?
No, he tells me. No, he's great. He's great. But he's a typical. Well, I say typical little boy. He's a typical smart little boy.
Yeah.
And he's very inquisitive. You know, he's very inquisitive. Just hope when he gets to a teenager, it doesn't stop. You know, so keep him going because he's still pre-teens at the moment. But no, but without that, we couldn't do this sort of thing.
No.
So I think that's what's kept us all sane. I mean, going back to the original question, I mean, what am I doing? I've never been busier because I haven't got to think about going out at all.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just going, besides just doing things around the house, whatever, I'm still doing modelling, I'm still doing reviewing, I'm still working with the model companies, I'm still writing, I'm writing about 3 books as we go along at the moment. There's a screenplay idea I've got, which I won't say anything about because it's the death knell of anything. If you start, oh yes, I'm doing a screenplay, so and so, and it all falls apart. So I'm not saying anything about that at all. But I'm doing another model making book. I've done a recent book for. Fortunately, I've got all these handy being in the office. Haynes, I've done their first model making book. That's just come out.
Oh wow!
And they have another one in that series at some point. So yes, I've certainly had no problem about finding stuff to do. In fact, I'm putting in for a 36-hour day. I think I need that.
And obviously, you're
not retiring.
Yeah, indeed, and also your other project, which you've been commissioned today to get ORAC working.
Oh, yeah, get ORAC right
for 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, Matt, we are slightly about to run out of time, but thank you for giving up your time to speak to us about Blake 7 and everything else. But what I'm asking people to do is to make a slight donation to charity if they're watching this video. So would you like to nominate a charity, please?
Well, I would think on that particular business, I mean, if you have a favourite charity, donate to that. I have 2 particular ones that I'm slightly associated. One is Prostate Cancer UK, having had it and having got over it. And the other one is the Cats Protection League, because we mustn't forget our furry friends of any sort. And I always have this feeling that the human race thinks it's superior to them. We're not.
Well, it's funny you should mention that charity, because my wife works for another cat rescue charity where she volunteers, and we currently have 3 foster kittens up in our one of our spare rooms.
Well, any of the animal charities, I think, because as I said, we humans. It always, one thing always irritates me in programs. They say somebody's been behaving bad. Hey, you're acting like an animal. No, you're acting like a human. Yeah. Animals behave far better than the humans do. They don't go around killing them themselves. I think ants are a slight exception to that. But I mean, if they have to kill, they kill for food or whatever. So they don't do it for sport. But no, I mean, we treat the animal population extremely badly. So anything to help them. And as I said, we like cats as well. Both our cats are rescue ones. I'm surprised Louis, the big ginger one, hasn't come up. He usually comes up and says hello, but he hasn't. He's probably still in bed. No. Cats have the best thing about it. I mean, people say, "Oh, don't you like dogs?" I say, "No, the dogs. I've never had dogs, but the dogs get on with me fine. But always remember, dogs have owners, cats have staff."
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Well, they're there for the benefit of the cats.
Yeah.
Hey. So no, I mean, what I'm saying is, no, please give to whatever charity you feel like. They're my 2 particular charities.
Okay, well, we'll put links to both charities up on this YouTube video when it goes up. But thank you so much for taking part in Cygnus Alpha Down and Safe. I hope you stay safe. And
you, Ian, yes, you are at least 6 foot away from me, aren't you? Yes,
I am considerably more than 6 feet away from you.
Yes, you're 6 foot away from me.